Welcome to the Pest Empire Builder podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about growing your pest control industry across state lines through the art of franchising. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning into this episode. On this episode, we have Anthony with us, and we're talking about growing a pest control company across state lines around the country through franchising. And Anthony, I'm so glad that you're here on the show today. How are you doing?
Good, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Listen, for those who are listening, they may not be familiar with who you are. So where are you located at?
So we are Complete Pest Solutions. We're out of Youngstown, Ohio. So
The
little
bustling,
suburb.
the bustling metropolis of Youngstown.
That's it.
How big is Youngstown?
Not very big at all. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers of Youngstown. But so we cover 3 counties through the Mahoning, Trumbull, Columbiana County. So our population is about 230,000 in those 3.
So your market size is about 230. That's who you're reaching.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely kind of a smaller market in general. But I know a little bit about your business. How many field people do you have going right now?
So we have 6 technicians running, 2 sales guys that do B2B, 2 secretaries, and an accounts receivable. So that is our team.
That's awesome. So you got, I mean, considering the size of the market, that's actually a pretty good sized team that you have going there. Does that make you how big are you in the market? Are you one of the bigger guys in Youngstown then?
Yes. If through the research that we've done, we are one of the larger ones for our market. We've got 2 pretty close competitors. They've been around for 40 years in this area. So, well, not longer than 40 years now. My gosh. Wow. 50. Yeah. Because yes, over 50. So,
wow.
I forgot it's 2025. So.
Right. Got to redo the math. That's right.
Redo the math a little bit. I think the one opened in 1965 and the other one was 1979. So. Wow.
Right. Yeah. Those companies are older than me. That's amazing. And so, yeah, but they've been around for a long time. And other than that, you got yourself, which is a newer company. When did you get started?
So we took over a company here in about 2014. We took over a one-man operation here in Youngstown. So.
Okay. So you guys have been at it for 10 years. So 11 now. But so essentially in 11 years, you have become either the largest or one of the largest in your market. That's rapid growth and really a big market, percentage to be gaining inside of your market. After that, you have a bunch of single man operator type businesses?
Yes. So we have a bunch of one man operators, a couple 2, but a bunch of one man. I don't know why they keep choosing Youngstown to open, but they do. I think we had 2 open this year and 2 last year. Wow. I'm like, what the heck is going on? This is Youngstown. This is not a bustling, big metropolitan area.
Yeah, it's not Indianapolis. Right.
No.
Yeah, it's not Chicago. It's not anything. That's Youngstown. This is a small market, right?
It's a small market. So we've got 37 competitors now. So.
Wow, 37 competitors in a 230,000 person market.
Correct.
That is that's stiff competition. In the face of that, you've been growing rapidly.
Yes.
And Complete Pest Solutions, we were chatting about this a few minutes ago, but you were talking about how you decided to get into franchising, and now you have multiple franchises or franchisees going in different states and different areas. Talk to me about that. What's the decision process look like going from I bought a single man, I'm growing my market, my business, and now I want to get into starting a franchise. What started that conversation for you? What motivated you to make that kind of a growth move?
Well, let me take you back to about 2008. I actually started a company out in the Canton, Akron area.
Okay.
So that's where I started Complete Pest Solutions. Before that, I worked for a competitor here in this area and managed their firm for about 7 years. I managed their firm.
Okay.
And we got up to 28 technicians. So that
in Youngstown market?
The Youngstown. Well, we covered So we covered like all of eastern um, PA and western Ohio. So
Okay, so you had
we
to have a
went,
much larger
yeah.
market to.
So we
Yeah,
went
okay.
from like Lake Erie up north all the way
Hmm.
down basically to the river. Um, so we covered some pretty large. We covered Cleveland in there, Erie,
Okay.
PA,
Okay.
Pittsburgh, Canton, Akron. So we covered a lot of territory with those 28
Got it. Yeah, that makes
technicians.
sense. Yeah,
So
so their
yes, so it
their
was
market of that company was actually reaching out much larger than
correct,
than your local market. So
correct.
they were a multi-market thing. Okay, so yeah,
Yes.
you did that. All right.
So when I started my company, then we started with pretty much nothing, and I did the day to day business to business sales, networking. I didn't, back in that time period, B&I was just getting going, so I didn't really join the B&I networks and stuff like that. A lot of my sales came from just literally going, putting on a polo and slacks and walking business to business, and this is why I'm better. 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 And then you start your referral networking, your program for referrals, and then all of a sudden you're getting this restaurant owner telling his sister, "Hey, this is who I use at the restaurant. Let them do your house." And then all of a sudden you're picking up all these because of referrals. So
Yeah.
that was my big thing. And then back then the phone book was the way to advertise. So we had a little fun with that, made some nice graphics and stuck them in the phone books and in those areas that we were in because it would cover like you'd have a book for Canton, you'd have a book for Akron, then you would have a book for this county because it was so rural that there was no city, it was just a county. So here's this county's phone book. So we were in probably like 6 different phone books out there,
Okay.
cover that whole area, and then that started the phone ringing. So my philosophy became if I can go out and sign contracts through sales all day, and then the phone's ringing and I'm selling contracts on the phone, before long we're going to have a technician running because we have enough work because we were signing these contracts daily. So that became the philosophy. So 6 months, I hired my first technician, and then I kind of just rinsed and repeated. He got my truck. I jumped back out to do B2B sales. The phone would ring. I would answer the phone, sell the jobs, and then all of a sudden I was busy enough to now go get another technician, give him my truck, and it's the rinse and repeat process.
Uh huh.
Especially growing something when there's not really a customer base that you're really at, and trying to go get those customers. So kind of fast forward 2012, we had a very devastating fire in a building that we were renting. So we lost all of our vehicles, our equipment, our supplies, our computers,
Oh,
the whole nine. So sometimes you look at those events and say, well, is this really meant for me to keep going? Is this not meant to me? But then you
well,
look
that's a fork
down,
in the road for
that
sure. That's a huge
very
fork.
big. And,
Wow.
I had a nice letter from Terminex. Hey, it's from time to time, owners as yourself would like to just explore the opportunity of buying. And I'm like, I'm looking at the mailbox is the only thing that survived the fire. And I don't know how. It was a little cheap, dingy, $25 little metal mailbox in the front of the post, but that survived. So there was that in there, and there was a nice check that somebody owed me that was a lot of money. And when you look down the road at your employees standing there shaking their head and saying, "What the heck is going to happen now?"
Right.
I literally called my wife and said, "Unfortunately, the savings account is about to get drained," and I went out and bought trucks and equipment that day to start the process back over again.
Wow.
So yeah, yep. And then I took my home computer, I took that, and put
Wow.
so that became our office computer at that time. So but that's what you do as a business owner, right? I mean,
Right.
you either bow down to it or you go into the storm and you say, okay, we're gonna weather it. And we're gonna try to come back out stronger. So that happened in 2012. So that kind of gave me a renewal on business. You kind of get to start from scratch again. You get to say, what did I do wrong in those first 4 or 5 years, and how can I do it better now, coming out the other end? So we found a company that was closer to home for me because I was driving about an hour and a half to work every day. Because that was not the time to sell a house whatsoever in 2008. That was a horrible time.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Very
then and
familiar.
then so then you have the house for sale. It's not selling. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm driving an hour and a half to work just to get to work. And then you're starting to look again, and then you have the fire, and you're like, okay, obviously it's not meant for us to move. Like, it's just not meant. Like, every time we try to do this thing, it's just not happening. So I had an acquaintance here that I'm very good friends with, and his friend passed away, and he owned a pest control firm. Funny story is I knew the guy because he was part of the company when I was a kid that I started working for in high school. So I knew him from a long time ago because he was part of it. But he passed away, unfortunately. So I got together with his family, and I got to take over his company here.
Nice.
So now that put my hub in Youngstown instead of in Massillon, Ohio. So I'm now not driving an hour and a half to work every day, that kind of stuff. So that kind of worked itself out. And then I got to really start working on how do I grow this business and where do I want it to go? I spent the last 6 years, driving out an hour and a half, driving an hour and a half back. I was leaving my house at 6, getting home at 9:30 at night. So now I got to really kind of staple in and say, okay, we have now a local location here in Youngstown. I get to drive 5 minutes to work, not an hour and a half. So I get a lot more time in my day now, and I don't have to go out and do the work. I can now manage and hire secretaries and all this stuff. So we got to do that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you had a chance. So you got to slug it out and doing it one way, and you built it up, and then you had the reset button of the fire.
Correct.
And so you had the opportunity to go, if I was going to start over with all the knowledge and experience and skills that I've learned from all this time, I'm going to execute day one and know exactly what to do now to start this thing over. And so you moved it locally, and you just hit the ground running with that, with all the knowledge, skills, and experience necessary to start from day one. And you saw the rapid growth because of it.
Correct. So that at that point in time, so like 2014, I really felt like we dove more into the digital advertising, a lot better websites. We paid the extra cash for a better website, better SEO. We jumped on with a better CRM program for our routing. So that way it was more efficient.
Yep.
So we kind of really got to reset that. So, kind of fast forward to 2019, I'm sitting down with a buddy of mine and we're talking. I kind of put him in charge of our marketing, oversight. He was kind of a big picture guy. He wasn't into the weeds. He was a big picture of like, how do we get this thing to really grow? So I've always envisioned, and even when I was managing the other company, prior to starting, I could see that company going down the whole East Coast, the East Coast of the United States, the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and get into those southern states where pest control is huge. To grow a pest control company in those areas, it takes half the time as it does in Ohio because there's no seasons. Up here I get from April till October, and then I'm done.
Right, because in the wintertime there's less bugs.
There's
but
less
down
bugs.
South, right, where it's a little swampier and more humid, you get a lot more bugs, and they hang around a lot longer. Yeah.
So it's like what took me 10 years, we could probably do that in 5 down there. So I had that vision. So even with mine, I'm like, man, I'm starting to get to the point. So I did a trial run. I opened one in Hilton Head, South Carolina as a corporate location. And then we had my son, and then we had my daughter. So I was like, well, we're no longer traveling. So we shut down those operations because it was just kind of starting to get going. I was going down once a month for a week and, kind of doing those things just to see what that felt like. So 2019 comes, we're overviewing, we're getting this big picture. And I'm like, you know what? I still want to take this brand down the East Coast. So how do we do that? So we started researching on how to grow a brand, but I still wanted to be a dad and a husband. I did not want to be on the road all the time.
Right.
I wanted to be the dad that says, pretty much I never missed a kid's baseball game, volleyball game, soccer game, whatever they were into. We were at all of it. We did it. We sat in the bleachers. We supported. And then I didn't want to be a husband that was constantly gone and putting 3 kids' responsibility on to one person. So I don't believe that's why you get married. So that's my belief. But
but I think it's important. Like your kids aren't going to remember, oh, gee, Dad had a really nice car. Like they're not. Like
No.
I've had the privilege to be at a lot of funerals, and nobody's ever mentioned the house or the car or they talk about how they were there for you. Like my dad was there. He was someone I could trust. He was someone that had integrity and character. And those are the things that people really remember. That's the real impact that you have in other people's lives. And it's like, oh, my dad had an extra zero in his bank account. Like nobody cared.
Nobody cares. Nope.
Yeah, they don't. Right. And it's cool to make money. It's fun. But yeah, like ultimately your family, Matt, they care about you as a human being there and being present and being involved and being in their life.
Right.
Yeah.
So here comes franchising.
I love it.
So
So then now you're going to go expand, and you can do it from your home because you don't have to be there on site, because you've got an actual entrepreneur, business owner guy who wants to start his company. And now you are in the place to go, hey, listen, the fire reset me. I hit the ground running and took off. I know exactly what to do because I just did it, and I can help you do the same.
Yes.
Love that.
So we started franchising in 2020. So we're bookended on starting the company during one of the worst recessions ever.
Right into a pandemic.
To starting a franchising company in the worst pandemic to ever hit the world. So, so again, but that is just, again, that's you can't plan for those bad things, right? Like
No, you really can't.
So you keep on moving forward. You keep on. We're going to do this. This is the plan. We've got the funds. We're going to invest those funds into franchising. So we did. So we started this in 2020. I think we signed our first one in 2021. So
that's awesome.
So pretty exciting. Love it. Or we signed it on the end of 2020. One of the two. It's right on that very end or very beginning of 2021. But what was nice with the whole COVID thing is, as a business owner, I'm watching all my business owner buddies, like fretting, crazy fretting. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Right. And all of a sudden you start seeing, you got to shut this down. You got to shut this down. And you're like, I go into people's homes all the time. Like, there's no way I'm staying open. There's no way. There's no way. I go into people's homes. I go into the restaurants. They're shutting down restaurants. I go into nursing homes. You can't even go in to say goodbye to somebody. So there's no way that they're going to keep us open. And I have to thank a lot of TikToks of rats in New York City, rats at the Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, of restaurants closed and rats running around, because the National Pest Management Association that guides us, they went before the government and said, listen, if you shut us down, we don't know what kind of diseases are going to come out of this, because you're going to allow all these rodents and roaches to run crazy wild. People have bed bugs infest in their homes so bad. Like, how are you going to shut down industry that literally is public health?
Right. So, yeah, literally. And so I'm assuming, yes. Pest control got classified as an essential business in many areas.
We got classified as critical essential. So, as a business owner, and I'm watching my buddies all have to shut their doors, and they're like, how are you doing? It's one of those things where it's like, I'm good. But, our industry grew, I think, across the board during COVID. I think it grew like 42%.
Right.
Like that crazy. We grew 55%.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
So somehow that year, the digital marketing that we were doing since 2014 and constantly SEOing and redoing the website. And, when we franchised, the very first thing that we did is redid our website. So we went from decent to really good. We paid the money. We got a really good website. And then we started really honing in on, okay, the phone book is fading big time. By the way, I still miss the phone book, but that's fading, okay? And then this is the new stuff coming in. So we started looking at Google LSAs. Those were, what the heck were they called back in the early 2020s? Wasn't it Google Guaranteed or Google 3-Pack or something like that? I think it was Google 3-Pack, if I can remember correctly. I think it was like Google 3-Pack. You go and you do the background check, you get verified, and then they always said that you're in the top three at all times. I think that's what it was called, the Google 3-Pack at that point in time. So we started messing with that. and I mean the phones just blew up. Um, they let you advertise everything on it. That was nice. They've kind of now restricted that. So we do a lot of wildlife work. That's one of our revenue streams is wildlife,
Mm-hmm.
raccoons, bats, squirrels, birds. No longer through Google LSAs or Google Guaranteed can you advertise. They don't put any wildlife on there. So
Oh,
that
okay.
yeah. So it's basically just your general pest, termites and mosquitoes. They took the wildlife keywords off. I don't know why, but that's what they did. So,
Yep.
so the Google 3-pack was the original Google Guaranteed. So
Got
we,
it.
we really played with that during that time, and that worked out really well. And then you start looking at the franchising world and how does that look like marketing. And if I can say one thing, if you think you have enough money saved up to franchise your business, please triple it.
I've
Because
heard that. It's
there's
very
just
expensive to grow your business that way. Yeah.
it's very expensive. It's very it's not fast. There's
Right.
no it's not fast. It's not like I'm going to franchise my business and then all of a sudden it's like I paid this much money, so now I'm going to go get this return like tomorrow. Like with your marketing budget, sometimes if you get lucky, you put all the money in, and all of a sudden, bam! The next day, your phone starts ringing off the hook because those keywords fall in line perfectly or whatever. With
Yep.
franchising, it's not that way. So we tried to do the franchising in house of sales, and then you find out, well, how do you go find people? Well, okay, now you go to consultants. Now you go to these other larger companies that actually that's what they do. They sell franchises. Then
Right.
you find out that they want 40% of your franchise fee, and you're like, hang on, I'm an emerging brand. I don't have any royalties. Like I really don't at this point.
Right. No, not in the beginning.
And,
You can
and
have
you
40% of my $10.
and you want 40% of my $25,000 to help me. Holy, what does that leave me?
Right.
I've got to
That's an
pay.
aggressive percentage. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was that high.
Oh yeah, it is. You got to pay a note. Like I got to pay a note. We had the funds, but it was still a financed funds. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what
Well,
you
yeah,
did.
but you build with other people's money. Like
Yeah.
that's other
Yeah.
people's money is how you expand and grow and invest and build.
Right.
And
So you
right.
got the note to pay, and then all of a sudden you're only leaving out on a sale of you got 10 grand, and you're like, well, now I got to pay the guy to train him.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get their uniforms, we got to get their first part, and you're like, oh my gosh, by the time I'm all said and done, I $3,000. That's what I got left over. Got $3,000, and then you got to go pay the note, then you got to go do that, and you're like, holy crap! So how do we do this better?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, because you got to have a healthy margin.
Yeah,
Like
we didn't do
has
it
to.
better. We didn't do it better. We're still figuring all that stuff out. 5 years in, how do we get enough leads in for the franchising where we're closing one or two a month? Some years in the past we've closed two. The last 2 years we've only closed one a year. It's a process. It's just a process.
Well, and you want to be selective too. Like in the people you bring in, just because they apply doesn't mean that
Yes.
that's who you want in your brand. Like
Yep.
you're looking for very specific personality, gift mix, talents, skills, financial backing. Like there's a lot of factors in that you got to consider as a franchisor. And I mean, you've been adding one or two a year, but that's okay. You'd rather grow with some quality than quantity, because
Correct.
if you just throw anybody in there, man, it'll mess up your whole brand.
Yeah. So, but I think so. What we ended up doing now is we kind of went a little bit of a different way. We hired somebody that's going to actually be our liaison between all the coaches and consultants, and their company is going to qualify, run through the whole introduction, post FTD, and then get them to discovery day. So that's going to pull some of that off of our plate.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So and then that company's been doing it for 30 years. So it's like, okay, let's go hire the person that's actually has all the experience. I always tell anybody that I'm talking to about franchising, I'm a kid. I'm crawling. I'm just learning how to walk. I'm stumbling. I am stumbling my way through it, and that's okay. But I am the only pest control company in Youngstown that is trying to franchise. So I take that with a badge of honor, and I'm like, you know what? We're stumbling on this end. On the pest control end, we're solid. I can do that in my sleep. I already stumbled through that whole process of learning the best way to do pest control, the best way to
Yep.
market. You stumble through it and you come out on the other side and you say, you know what, we're doing well. We're
Yeah.
blessed. We are doing well. We got a good team. We stumbled through the hiring process. So that's what's nice about helping our franchisees is that I've already stumbled through all that. So I can help them not stumble as much.
Yep.
But when it comes to the franchising side, stumbling through, learning it, reading all kinds of books. I got another book over here someplace that I got to go through.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
got
you're starting a new franchising is a different business, a different industry. Yeah, it's pest control, but the franchising side, totally different industry, totally different business, totally different everything. And just like anyone starting any business, the first little stretch, you're always stumbling through. You're always trying to figure it out. You're learning through trial and error. Yeah, you're reading books. Yeah, you're talking to consultants. Yeah, you're doing all this other stuff. But it does take a little bit to kind of get it going and get running with this thing. And just like you become a proficient expert in pest control, this journey is going to have you as proficient expert in franchising by the end of it.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping. But no, so it's a good journey. But I did it to grow my brand, to be, to have complete pest solutions, as many places as we can, because I feel like what we do is different than what most do. There are some that do the same things, but I feel like we're different. We're a lot more involved in the community than any of our competitors. So we sponsor little league teams. We actually do all the parades, all of our local parades. We have a truck in throwing candy out too.
That's cool.
We go to a bunch of golf outings. I think we do 5 to 8 a year, just depending on how they fall. But through all that, we're connecting with the community. In the summertime, we join with Habitat for Humanity, go work on some houses with them.
That's awesome.
So what we try to do is we try to be that company in those areas, and this is why another reason why I franchise is because we're now able to say we are truly local. Yes, it's Complete Pest Solutions. Yes, it's out of Youngstown, but the person that owns it is in your town. He is in your city. He's a walk to his house and knock on his door. You know what I'm saying? But so we try to push that with our franchisees. Get involved as much as you can with the community. You will not regret it. So with our chamber, we go to almost every business ribbon cutting that they have and celebrate another entrepreneur opening a local business. That goes a huge, long way. With the chamber, we do the chamber events, we do the power lunches, we do, they have some get-togethers in the evening. Our guys go to that. But it just makes you part of that community. So when you're out at the store, hey, Complete Pest Solutions. Hey, you guys were throwing candy in the parade the other day. This is fantastic. I got a problem. They see your truck because it was in the parade. They see your truck in the gas station or at a red light. So a lot of the companies, even in our small area, they don't do that stuff. We don't see them in the parades. We don't see them at ribbon cuttings. It's more of that focal point on business, which is fine. But I want our brand to be associated with they are part of this community. They do things. They are advocates for it. We support local animal charities. So we try to do different things than just the regular everyday business does. We try to support local sports teams. So we do those things to hopefully give us that not only just to be part of the community and be important because you're supposed to be part of your community that you're living in like you should be. That is a civic thing to do, is be part of that community.
100%.
But then you want it to also, kind of pay off for you as a business owner. Like, I'm going to get an ROI off of this. People are going to know me. They're going to know what I do, and they're going to hopefully appreciate that I am doing these things. And then they call me instead of the next guy.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. But I think every business owner, no matter what industry you're in, I think every business owner should be involved in their community and whatever that looks like, right? If like I'm in a mid-sized market, I have a little under 1 million people in my market. I'm in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. And so, but in that market, there's certain events and things that I'm going to. I'm involved in the chamber events. I'm in, like you, I go to golf tournaments. I'm sponsoring other things that work well to help with my business. But, now I go around and people know, oh, that's Matt. That's what he does, and then now people know who I am. And I think it's important to be involved in your community. And yeah, it does help the business side of things. But I don't know. I think as an entrepreneur, you are a leader just by default. And maybe you're leading yourself because you're a self-employed, person. Maybe you're a one-man shop, a one-man truck doing your thing. There's no like that. That's a great place to be, but you're still a leader in the community and people still look to you as a leader when you're a business owner. And so being able to exercise that and show that, I think is a really good thing. As an entrepreneur, hopefully if things go the way you want them to, you're going to be blessed financially. As an entrepreneur, right? You have the opportunity, whether or not it happens, but you have the opportunity to make more money than the average person. You also have the opportunity to lose more money than the average person. It is a risk. But when we're blessed, I think there are seasons where I can look back. There are seasons where, I struggled financially, and there's seasons where I had more than enough. And in the seasons when you have more than enough, being involved in your community, finding ways to support other things, being involved in charities, whether it's baseball games or Animal Humane or Habitat for Humanity, and you do it to help other people because we've all been blessed to be a blessing. I do believe that. And I just think as a business owner, it's a great thing. And even if you don't get any more business out of it, it's something that where I'm an active part of this community. This is my town. This is my city. This is my area. And in large markets, like if you're in a Phoenix or a Denver or Chicago, Miami, what's the community that works for you? Define that box, right? Obviously, to be part of the community in a place like Los Angeles or New York City, it's so huge. Just pick the borough, pick the spot, pick the neighborhood, pick the county, pick the sub, pick what it is that you're going to be invested in and just go all in on investing in that little area. And you'll notice that like realtors do it, pest control companies do it, different service companies will do it, HVAC, electrical, they'll say like whatever the sub market is, whatever, maybe it's, a sub, like a suburban market or a city or a town that's kind of bolted on, and you like, I'm in this area, like I'm this Los Ranchos expert, like there's a part of our town called Los Ranchos, and so like I am the Los Ranchos, whatever expert for this. And it's like they get embedded in the Los Ranchos area and all their events and everybody knows they're the Los Ranchos pest control guy, and so I think it's important to do that. And I like what you're saying too about how people will come up to you and be like, oh yeah, you're the guy that throws candy off the thing, or whatever it is that people see you doing. And it opens up a trust factor too. People will trust you more because they see you out involved in the community, giving back. You're not just taking, you're not just like, give me your money. You're like, no, I'm out here. I'm with this, in here with this, with you. We're shoulder to shoulder, providing for our families. Look at my kids, look at my family, like, I think that's important. It humanizes people and builds trust. And I don't know, man, I think our country as a whole has lost some of that. People don't know their neighbors anymore. It just isn't like it used to be. People are a little more isolated. But being a voice and somebody that's out in the community like that, you help break some of that down, break some of those barriers down too.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why we encourage it because, we want that for our franchisees and it's a blessing. And I believe that you actually get more from it by doing that. So that's
Absolutely.
Why.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we try to preach to our franchisees is what kind of makes us different. The services that we offer makes us different. Not many people want to climb roofs and that stuff for bats and raccoons. So we get that portion of it too. But no, so the franchising world has really opened my eyes to expansion with the benefit of helping somebody build a legacy for themselves. And it has its challenges as we talked about earlier. But at the end of the day, you still get that opportunity to do that and pass on your knowledge to somebody else of how you made it work.
Well, that's got to feel good too. Like being able to say, listen, these are the steps you can be taking. You're helping somebody else's family as well, and And I don't know about you on your specific background of all your franchisees and whatnot, but some people are coming out of corporate America and they want to be a business owner. Like they've never owned a business before. And they're like, I want this. This is a dream, but I don't know the ropes. And to be able to join a franchise that helps you, like it says, here's the steps to take. Like, here's the action steps, follow the plan. You know, you're the coach, they're the player, run the play. I've given you the playbook. I'm going to coach you on how to run the play. You still got to run it. You still got to do the things. Like, here's the marketing plan and the growth plan that works, which, by the way, the marketing and growth, that whole marketing, retention, all that stuff, sales, that is such a moving target that I imagine as a franchisor, you're constantly having to keep your finger on the pulse of what's working, what isn't, and how are we going to stay fluid, because the marketing world is so fluid. Just like you talked about, Google 3-pack changes to Google Guaranteed, changes to LSA, changes to what's next, you know, right. and it's a constant, all the marketing and sales tactics, you know, door to door, right? Door to door millionaire. Lenny was on the show. I just had him on the show just a couple months ago talking about door-to-door marketing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and it's like, so door-to-door works, but maybe the tactics on door-to-door changing, you know, as humanity changes and the culture changes. And I think it's like, I don't know, that's a big thing. You got to stay on the pulse and you got to keep your franchisees going, okay, this is what's changing. We're changing our strategy. And I think it's kind of cool to be able to have like a whole army of franchisees across the country in lockstep, all just like kicking butt and taking names like that. I think it's that's got to be cool too. It's got to feel good to be like, I'm helping all these people like start businesses and grow and create wealth for their families.
Yep, it's pretty fun. No doubt.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you get like a royalty off of it, right? There's a percentage royalty.
Yeah.
That comes back. But that's what you're paying for. When you join a franchise, you're paying for the coaching, the experience, the skills, the everything else, and hopefully, and then not learning things the hard way like you and I did in our businesses.
Yep. And then like we at corporate, we get to go. You know, I always see it as a benefit. You know, starting off on my own, it's like, you know, when I would have to try a new product, I would have to try the new product, and if it didn't work, then I had to go pay to go back and redo the services. You know, you try a new service and it just doesn't go well. You paid for that. So the benefit of it too is like we get to go try that at corporate. We get to go try new products. We get to go build new services, try them out. Does it work? The fun thing is we came out with a new mosquito program this year, and thankfully we had a couple franchisees that were willing to, you know, kind of test it in their market too with us. So that was pretty cool. Here are some of the results. We got to roll it out, and wow. It just, you save time, which then saves money. You get better results. And, you know, the customers are ecstatic that they're not in their backyard getting chewed up. So, you know, we get to do those things. And that's all part of that franchising world is, you know, we do get to go test. And then if it works, we get to roll it out and then watch them have success with it.
I love that.
Yeah. We get to go negotiate. I like to negotiate. I'm a negotiator. Again, I started as a sales guy, so I like to negotiate. So I get to go and meet with these large product corporations and say, hey, you know, we've got this many branches. You know, this is how much money we spent last year on product. You know, and I can pull their numbers and say, okay, each franchise spent this much. So this is how much we're spending a year. How do we get you what was it, 2 years ago? We actually got to sign on and just work directly with a product manufacturer, no third party, no middleman.
I love that. So joining the franchise has that benefit of like you're buying your product cheaper than anyone else is buying the product.
Correct. And it's like that saved our franchisees. I can't tell you how much money. It saved us a ton of money.
Well, that puts a whole lot of our margin right back into your budget.
Correct.
Probably more than 7% or 10% or whatever the royalties are, right? So that pays for the royalties instantly, just right there.
Because like for the one product, we were paying like $125 a quart. I got it down to $43 a quart.
That's huge.
So
that's a massive drop. Yeah, that adds so much margin. Massive.
Yeah, and the results for the product were about the same. Because we got to test those products before we said yes, let's pull the trigger. So we ran two of our guys with the old product, and you know, two of the guys with a new product, and then we kind of laid out the results of how many re-apps that we have to go back to with each product, and it was about even. And I'm like, what? This is a no-brainer.
Love that. See, I
So
love
yeah,
that about like implementing new services and stuff like that. And you get like that test market, and like that's certainly an advantage of joining, a franchise. And, here at PEB, we're a mastermind group. That helps with a lot of the business and the strategy and stuff, but it's a kind of a similar thing, but we're collaborating where, if you've never been part of a mastermind group, it's pretty awesome because you end up with all these people together saying like, well, I tried this, I tried that, and you're able to bounce ideas off of each other. The franchise takes it yet a step further than a mastermind group would take it. For sure. But like it's the PEB community is something that really helps people also accelerate their growth. If you're a single man operator, or maybe you're not a franchise and you're part of a smaller group, whatever, a smaller organization, or maybe a medium or large size, we have every size of group you can imagine inside of the community. But it's one of those things where like you could join into a mastermind group and really accelerate your growth. And it's not that unsimilar to a franchise in some ways. But the fees to join a mastermind group would be significantly less, but you get a little bit less than what you would offer as a franchise. A franchise, right. You are offering a whole lot more, but you pay for more. So you get what you pay for. And so depending what kind of support you need, but I just, I love the collaboration. I love it when people, like even in a franchise, you're able to collaborate and have essentially like a mastermind, a brain trust of multiple people coming together and building something together that is huge. And I tell you, every industry I've ever been in, I've owned about 10 different businesses over the last 20 years. And every business that I've been able to connect to a solid mastermind group on, that business has exploded in growth. And so so when people hit growth barriers and growth ceilings, or they're stuck in a certain way in their business, collaborating with other people in your business, like-minded, will always help your business grow and expand at a quicker rate. And that's what I love about the mastermind group, but also there's that element inside of a franchise as well, which is really, really cool. Like you all get to hang out and go like, this is working, this isn't. And you're able to collaboratively come together and find solutions that help everybody.
Mm-hmm. It's the joy.
I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. Puts you in a great place for coaching and mentoring and helping accelerate other people's growth. And it's been interesting hearing your journey on the franchise growing and how it's been growing. That's really cool.
Yeah. And again, I think this next step that we just took with this, hiring this company, I think it's going to help us get better candidates and then hopefully do some more growth.
So what's the ideal candidate for if someone's listening, thinking about like, I want to switch into a franchise from being solo, or maybe they're thinking, I want to start a pest control company. I've never done it before. What's the ideal candidate, what you're looking for to add into your franchise?
So the first one that we always look for is coachability. That's always, I think in anything, I'm a big sports guy, played a lot of sports in my youth. So coachability, someone that's coachable is always going to be the one that's going to learn the fastest. Then you start looking at towards a skill set of, do you have the perseverance to weather the storms?
Oh, the grit factor.
The grit factor. And it's a skill set. It is a skill set. It is something that is, I don't know if you can teach it. It's learnt. I think it's instilled, somewhat by your upbringing, but you have to have the grit. And then you start looking at the organizational, the personality with other people. Can you work with other people? And then you start looking at, then you start falling along the lines of financial. Anybody can go hire an accountant. So, the financial end of it is it's important. But in pest control, it's kind of simplistic: money in, money out. That's and as long as you have your QuickBooks set up properly, you can glance at it. You don't have to have an accountant degree to figure out are you making money or are you not. Right. That's what accountants are for. So those are my criteria, and a lot of it is how much can you be coached? Can you come in here? You're buying into a system. We're going to give you the blueprint. And I was listening to a franchising podcast, a couple weeks ago, and it's like the hardest thing for the franchisor and the franchisee to come together and agree on is that The franchisor does not do the business for you. They give you the blueprint. The franchisee then has to go out and actually do the work. The franchisor cannot go out and do the work for them. That's just not how it goes.
Right.
So, and that's where the perseverance, the grit, the organization, that kind of stuff comes in and says, okay. And then how are you? Are you a people person? If you are not a people person, the service industry, I don't think is for you. That's it.
I agree.
You have to be able to go out and enjoy being around people.
We're in the people business.
That's it. We are.
We just happen to kill bugs.
That's it.
But we're in the people business.
We're in the people business.
Yep.
Kind of starting out, I had the privilege, and this is the one thing I love about the industry. Starting out, I had the privilege. I pretty much knew all my customers.
Mm-hmm.
I knew them all the way up until we got to about 4 technicians. Then after that, you're kind of like, I think I know that one. Yeah, I think so. But before that, I pretty much knew pretty well all of our customers. I did, to some of them, I was, to some of their families, to their kids, I was Batman. I would come to their house because they had bats, and I would leave with a drawing of me in the Batman suit getting in my car. That was how they seen it, right?
Right.
And then to some, I was the bug man. To some, I was the spider killer. So you get to know these families, and you get to know the kids, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
What's kind of cool is that through owning this since 2008, I now do some of my customers. I do their kids' house.
Oh, that's cool.
So we are in the business of people, like we
absolutely.
So you have to gauge that, and that one's a little bit tougher because again, some people can hide that pretty well that they are a people person, but then when it comes down to it, and it comes to getting up in the morning and going and doing the work and all this other jazz, they are a little bit more of an introvert. They're not as extrovert as the that it was shown. So those are my ideals. I love a people person. I love a person that has a lot of grit, perseverance, because again, that's what it takes. You and I both know. You've ran multiple companies.
Yep.
And like we've already stated, sometimes the times are very lean, and you got to push through. And it's just that time period.
Grit is developed through pain and difficulty and hardship, and coming out the other side of that difficult season. And that's how grit is formed, and that is developed. There is no read a book to develop grit. Grit is formed through the hardship of life and battling through it. And you can't teach grit, like you said. Grit is a thing that you earn that, and there's no easy way to earn it.
Yeah, and everybody's always like, oh, how's the mountain peak or how's the valley? It's like, as a business owner, you don't want the peaks, you don't want the valleys. As a business owner, you kind of want that nice road that's just kind of even. You might have a little hill, a little dip. The peaks and the valleys that will drive a business owner to the break of quitting, because the valleys are so deep, and yes, you have grit, and yes, you have that perseverance, but sometimes, to get to the mountaintop, it's a lot harder to get to the mountaintop than it is to get back in that valley. To roll downhill is a lot easier than to climb uphill.
That is for sure.
So so what we try to do is help our franchisees get on that even road. And yes, you might have a little bit of a hill to climb, and that's your mountaintop. But then, the little dip in the road that might be your valley is a very short one, and then you're back to kind of running that nice, smooth, business. And that's kind of where, what's nice is, kind of now since 2008 to now, we had the peaks, we had the valleys, we had the peaks, we had the valleys. I feel like now as our corporate branch sits, it's pretty much a smooth. We have a little bit of bump, we have a little down, we have a little bump, and a lot of that, just comes with it's just business, and you're dealing with people and you're working with people, and sometimes your little valley is you lose 2 employees in one day.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh crud. But then your mountain, your little bump up is you get a really great employee that replaced those 2 employees. So not only are you saving some money, but you got a better employee. So, okay, so now we're back on the, this part up here.
Yep. Yeah,
so,
that is so true. The emotional ups and downs,
yes,
the valleys and the peaks, and that whole phrase of "this too shall pass." When you're in a hard spot, it's like, listen, this too shall pass. You're going to get through this. And then the other side of it is like, man, I'm on top of the world. Well, this too shall pass.
Shall pass.
This too shall pass. And they're,
Yep.
I mean, I've been told, like, you either just came out of a storm, you're about to go into storm, or you're in the storm, And if you just came out of a storm, be happy. But just know there's another storm coming, because that's the way the world works. And that's where that grit is formed, is you've been through enough storms of life. And it can come in all kinds of different ways. It could come through childhood trauma. Like maybe you grew up in a childhood situation that you had to battle through and become emotionally resilient at a young age to get through it. That forms grit inside of you. I think that's one of the things that like people like about someone going to college and getting a college degree is that it takes a level of grit to get all the way through university and come out with a college degree. And sometimes the grit is school of hard knocks. You've just, like I didn't go to college. I went right into business, and I've just been in business all my life almost. But the grit of like having businesses succeed, and I've had businesses fail. I've had some make money, some lose money. But the ups and downs and the valleys and the storms and on the lack of storms, that stuff just forms the grit inside of you. And you have just that resilience to be able just to keep chunking through and powering through life. It's a great quality. You have to have it as an entrepreneur. You have to have a level of grit. Because it's going to happen, man. You're going to have the ups and the downs. And we don't want the big ups and downs, like you said. I want that nice, steady growth pattern.
Yep.
But that's not how, I don't know. It's just like looking at the stock market. I want it to go up exactly whatever, 8%, 10%, month over month, whatever the pattern is that's going. But it's not. It's this up and down, zigzag. But if you look and you average it, you see that upward trajectory in the stock market. It's the same thing in business. Your business has a little ups and downs. You got to have the grit to go, okay, this is where we're headed.
Right.
And don't let the ups or the downs mislead you emotionally.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Man, this has been a great episode. This is fun. I like talking with you. I like talking about leadership and even the qualities that you're looking for in a franchisee. If someone is interested and they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to look at next steps and maybe potentially learning more about Complete Pest Control?
Yep. So my phone number is 330-793-8664. You can always call. We can have a conversation. I'm normally at my office pretty much all day long, unless I got a customer to go see. Our website is completepestsolution.com. No S on solution. I know that's kind of weird, but that was the domain name that we purchased. So that's it. And that's it. Get a hold of us.
Okay.
I love a phone call. Emails are good, but there's nothing like talking to somebody that is interested in, actually finding out first run, hey, how we doing? What's your goals? And then proceeding from there. So I love a phone call. Again, if I'm not here, just leave a message. I'm normally here 8 to 6 o'clock at night. So just
all right. That sounds.
Yep.
That sounds wonderful, man. It's been great having you on the show.
All right,
and I look forward to connecting you at future events and other things. I'm sure we'll see each other around in the industry.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Bye.